Coming up on today's show, we talk fashion shows with new game Steel Rising from Spider Studios, Assassin's Creed goes back to its roots, and Crystal Dynamics now fully owns Tomb Raider. Guys, how are you? This is episode 77 of the Weekend Catch-Up Club podcast. Jamie, how are you doing? I see I'll stop wearing black as soon as... What does that say on your t-shirt?
They invented darker colour.
They invented darker colour. They need a colour as dark as your soul, Jamie, and then you could wear that.
There is tale of a colour so dark, but were I to wear it, it would open a portal to the Nether Hells, so I'm not allowed to.
It's very sensible.
Yeah.
It is.
But I'm going to do it one day anyway.
We would need a health and safety disclaimer on the podcast before if you decide to wear such a colour, but there is no one that exists. Or so they say it in legend.
I would, do you know, if you've seen the paint you can get, you know, the Vanta black and then the blackest black and all that, I would love to wear something made of that. And
I
just
thought you were going to
like
say you want us to
shadow.
be painted in that. You want us to put that paint on you?
I'll take it. I'll because I could just stop wearing a shirt and just be a void for the rest of my life. I'm down.
Sarah, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm good, thank you. Very good. I have my tankard of soda with me, so I'm good to go.
I see that. I've got my very hipster chic vanilla iced cold brew latte, which is homemade. It's not quite the same as going to like Starbucks or Cafe Nero or such and getting a proper one, but it'll do the job. Just load it up with ice and some milk and give it a bit of a swizzle and bish bash bosh. There you go. You've got a cold brew.
Nice.
That's a job.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't have I have a pretty cool t-shirt on as well. For those who can't see it, it's the band Ghost.
Oh,
the band
like
Ghost.
Cool.
Yeah, they're basically satanic ABBA. So
they're awesome.
If you don't know them, look them up. They're amazing.
I'm feeling left out. I've just got a plain black tee on. It's not anything exciting at all.
So
Although
neutral.
we're all coordinated. We're all wearing black of some sort, which is quite cool.
Which, if
Maybe
anyone
we should
asks, was planned.
We should have made this the Metal Health Singers show or something instead of what we're going to be talking about, because we're all on team. Never mind. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we kind of hinted at before, we've got an absolute banger episode lined up for you today for episode 77. We are going to be talking about Fashion Show's newcomer on the scene. It is Steel Rising. I'm going to be giving probably quite a lengthy impressions about that. Then we're going to be talking about Assassin's Creed, the 15th anniversary event, which just happened, in which they unveiled a whole raft of amazing new Assassin's Creed content. We've also got the Disney and Marvel Games Showcase, which got televised broadcast just there as well. Plague Tale Requiem, which I am hugely excited for. The previews of that game are dropping. And really unexpected news, guys, was that Crystal Dynamics, the developer behind the modern reboot Tomb Raider games, they now fully own the rights to Tomb Raider and, drumroll, the Legacy of Kain IP. So we're going to be diving into that as well, which could be hugely exciting for a comeback of Soul Reaver, possibly. Anyway, we're going to be diving into that as well. But guys, shall we talk? I don't want to keep on talking for the next half an hour. So I'm going to we'll start with the Assassin's Creed showcase. And I want to get both of your history with the franchise and where the franchise is going with Mirage, which is the next one. Apparently it's going back to its roots. But there's also some more games announced, like Codename Red, which looks to be the feudal Japan. You play as a shinobi setting, the one that all the fans have always wanted. But also Hexe was hinted at as well. And there's a mobile game called Codename Jade. Tons of stuff. So, Sarah, let's start with you. What's your history with Assassin's Creed?
Assassin's Creed is a franchise that I have not played any of, which is kind of mind-blowing, I think, because it is pretty iconic. although I watched the trailer for the new one that they're dropping, where it's going back to the original setting in the Middle East, and it looks amazing. Like, that trailer looked incredible, and I was like, look, I've always wanted to play these games, but I think now it might be slightly difficult to go back to the original because they might be a little bit clunky. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe they'll do some remaking of those. That'd be nice. Yeah, I love the idea. I think, like, the one thing, I mean, I know sort of roughly how they work in terms of the structure of the games, and I know the various styles that they've used. But I have heard that kind of in the newer ones, it felt like they went away from the original kind of concept of being assassins, especially with the Valhalla one. It sort of felt like it was very much like, ooh, Vikings are cool right now. Let's do a Vikings thing. Yeah, you kind of know of the assassins, but don't worry about that. So I think, yeah, it'll be nice for them to go back to that kind of. It's sort of sounds like it might be a prequel, yes, because they're referring to themselves as like the name before they were the Assassin's Guild. Is that right? I did a little bit of Googling and also talking to my my other half, who has played all of the games. I think he said the Pirates one is his favorite one.
Black Flag is probably my favorite one as well, actually. Unless you go back to the Assassin's Creed Brotherhood is actually my favorite one. But then going forward, Black Flag was probably my second favorite. But yeah, you're right. Like, it follows Basim, who was a character in AC Valhalla. And AC Valhalla, I think, is supposed to predate all of them up until that point, whereas I actually thought Odyssey was the one that predated them all, but I think Valhalla comes earlier. And then Basim, this is a young Basim, so it's 20 years before Valhalla, so we're going back even further then. So it'll be really, really interesting to see what they do with the story building and the lore building, because it's kind of lost a lot of that about the Templars and the Assassins was what the original trilogy was all about. It started out with Altair, then it went to the Ezio trilogy. We had Desmond Miles, which was the kind of the future stuff or the present day stuff, and then it kind of lost that after AC. I think it was 3, where it was the Native American protagonist of Connor, and then it went just full blown open world RPG and didn't really. I mean, it still, AC Origins and Odyssey still had the lore kind of stuff there with the assassins and everything. But it was definitely moving away from it. And I think Valhalla is, I think, for a lot of people, myself included, it's kind of too far removed and it's so bloated. It's huge. And a lot of us were really kind of screaming out for, let's go back to basics. Let's go back to what the original core tenets of the original Assassin's Creed was, but without, as you said, without the kind of the clunky mechanics and maybe a little bit of the jankiness if you were to go back to it today. Because it was back in, 2007 originally. So it's, obviously 15 years ago, hence the 15th celebration. And the series has changed so dramatically. And I always wanted the series to forgo the massive open worlds, as fun as they are, but they weren't Assassin's Creed. Like, call them something else. Do historical epics as open world RPGs, but don't do it as an Assassin's Creed game. And if you look at things like the Hitman series from IO Interactive, they were always so focused on what is the core of Agent 47 and the Hitman series, and they always held true to that, and they just made these incredible games, game after game after game. And obviously Hitman 3 came out, I think, was it beginning of last year, and it was just amazing, and a lot of people forgot about it, but it was these amazing sandboxes, huge sandboxes packed with detail and packed with variety of how am I going to assassinate my target. And that's it. That's at its core. That's all you kind of have to worry about. And the replayability and the spontaneity to just kind of do random stuff in those games was amazing. And I always wanted, if any game was going to come back or go back to its roots, it would have been Splinter Cell or Assassin's Creed to do the IO Interactive kind of model of give me these epic sandboxes, huge sandbox, tons of variety, tons of replayability, ways in which to achieve my objective, but keep it so focused, finely tuned, just like what Hitman was doing. So Mirage seems like it's going to be going back to that. It's still going to, I think, have like a bit of an open world kind of setting, but way more focused around your assassination targets and the Brotherhood and establishing those core tenets and everything. So I'm hugely excited for this. And Jamie, I'll get your thoughts as well.
Oh, I adore the Assassin's Creed series. I played the absolute hell out of the first game. and just got completely hooked. And when they announced 2, I was over the moon, and I went and picked it up. Fell in love with Ezio immediately. The Ezio trilogy is as a whole, is my favorite entry in the entire franchise.
Yeah.
And I bought the remaster. I went back and played it again, and it holds up. Like Assassin's Creed 1 feels a bit janky these days. It does. But not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just old enough that it feels a little bit clunky. The Auditore trilogy is just still great. Like, it still feels really nice. It's actually surprisingly smooth. 3 was fantastic. Black Flag was fantastic. I really enjoyed Unity and Syndicate, even though they got a bit less love, but I was still having fun with them.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I have not played any of the recent 3. I've not played Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla. I just haven't got round to them. And I haven't felt like I'm missing out. A friend of mine has played them quite extensively, and he really enjoys them. But he has said that they don't necessarily feel quite the same, but they are good games. Like, they are, there's a lot that's good in there. But ultimately, I will get around to them eventually and play them. But going back to their roots is definitely not a bad move, because they had something special, and like you say, that. It'll always make you sound like a psychopath, but there is something really enjoyable about being the best at killing. Like when it comes to
Sure.
video games,
Yeah.
because you feel. I've said it in the past. I always want video games to make me feel like a badass. It's why I don't play Dark Souls, because in that I feel like a failure, so I don't enjoy it. But with the assassin, I can run across. I've got a target halfway across the city. I can run across rooftops, slip past guards, take out a couple of them completely silently, appear next to him, knife in the back, and gone into the shadows. It's amazing. There's nothing not to like about that.
Exactly, I know. That's definitely what the new ones had kind of lost, because they tried to bring it back where you can hide in plain sight as one of the core aspects of the series. And they tried to do that with Eivor in Valhalla, but it never felt the same. It never felt as good, and it really wasn't as well implemented as the old games. And you raised an amazing point, actually, Jamie, about Assassin's Creed Unity. I went back and played that just maybe last year, just a little bit. I haven't finished it or anything like that, but that was a game that was hugely ambitious for its time, and it launched in such a broken state. And then I think Ubisoft got quite gun shy at that point, because then Syndicate followed up and it was massively reined back in. The multiplayer was gone, which was awesome. The crowd system was massively reduced. The ambition had definitely been kind of scaled back. And fortunately, I'm playing on an Xbox Series X, so the FPS boost program means that you can play Unity at 60 frames per second. It just automatically gets the frame rate jump, and it feels so good now. Whereas you don't obviously have the freeform kind of combat which you have with the modern games, but it's still, you can sprint, you can do this amazing parkour, which is gorgeous. And it's actually, the animation system in Unity is far superior to the modern games. If you look at it, it's so flashy and amazing when Arnold just flips and spins and over railings and down the Notre Dame and all this kind of stuff. It's incredible. But you are the knife in the crowd, where you can sprint, you can knife the person in the back or in the lungs or in the kidneys or whatever, and then you can just slip away calmly as a cucumber, just walking in and disappear in the crowd. And you think, oh my god, this feels so badass and cool. And if we're going back to that with Mirage, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be so cool. But I would love for Ubisoft to also do like some kind of remaster of Unity, like improve the frame rate, and the resolution now is a little bit kind of low by modern standards, but just do an official like texture pack resolution, like frame rate, and just re-release it as a next gen remaster or something. And I think today that game would really, really shine, because the fans are now desperate for that old school style of play. And if you actually look at what Unity was doing with its crowd system, with the way in which, if you had to, it's almost like a kind of precursor to Breath of the Wild, where it was all about getting to the highest peak on one of the buildings, and then your objectives would just kind of like display, like hovering over landmarks. Whereas if you're down on the ground, you didn't see anything. So you had to actually use the environment to get up and look around and see where your objectives were. And it was all of these really interesting mechanics and systems. The game was just just way too ambitious, unfortunately. And unfortunately as well, it launched in such a broken state, which made everybody said, oh, Unity is the worst game in the franchise. But actually, go back and play it and you'll realize how much it was pushing for a next generation experience for Assassin's Creed. And I've been waiting for, like, what is the next generation of Assassin's Creed for this generation going to be? Is it going to be as ambitious as that? Or are they going to play it a little bit safe, but still try and push in the right direction? I don't know. I'm eager to see more, because one thing that really frustrated me about the showcase was had this amazing CGI trailer, and I promise I'll shut up in a minute. They had this amazing CGI trailer. Set the scene. We got the amazing voiceover from Shora Agdashlu, who, if you have played Mass Effect 2, or is it 3 she's in, or both of them, I can't remember now. She is an amazing voice actress and also proper actress. She's in The Expanse, one of my favorite actresses, and she's going to be one of the main characters, the master assassin that trains Basim for this. So it's ticking a lot of things, but again, they didn't show any gameplay, like nothing at all. They showed no gameplay whatsoever, and it kind of feels like a bit of a missed opportunity. The build up was there, like everybody's fever pitch for it. It's like, oh my god, they've got her from The Expanse, they've got Basim, they're going back to the roots, and then to not show any of the gameplay systems, you're thinking, guys, this was your moment. This is the 15th anniversary. This is the time to show it off, and you didn't.
I feel like Ubi have previous for that, though, because if you look back at all the Assassin's Creed launches, there was always that CGI trailer that made you hype. Like, you look at the Revelations trailer and the Brotherhood trailer with Woodkid and Iron playing in the background, and I mean, it literally, I can still watch that, and it makes the hair stand up on the back of my neck because the music is pitched perfectly to the action in the. But I don't remember seeing them show me a hell of a lot of. Most of the gameplay I saw was once early release copies hit various outlets and they started to post little videos of what was going on in the game. I don't know why Ubi do that with AC. They always seem to be reticent to show off what they've done, which is a shame.
Do you think it's to do with, like, they're trying to focus on, like, make it? What am I trying to say? Like, the trailer feels more like filmic rather than focusing on the gameplay. It's like maybe they want to put the focus on the story as opposed to whatever gameplay elements they're going to bring it initially. Anyway, maybe
possible. Yeah, it's possible, because during that presentation they were saying that they wanted to go back to. They were definitely tugging at the nostalgia. Like even Basim's outfit was the white hood and cloak. It was very much Altair and the precursor to, I guess, all of that, like the Crusades and everything from the first one. But if you're saying that you're going back to the roots of the original and your imagery is showing that, then would have been the perfect time to then just cut to, or like some kind of gameplay presentation. You know, because typically they do that. They did it with Origins, because Origins was the big reinvention that Assassin's Creed needed at that point. Like the formula was getting very, very tired. People were ready for something new, and they did the right thing. They absolutely did. But then we've had 3 of these massive open world games, which are just exhaustive. But that gameplay reveal of Origins, like, fixated on this is not the Assassin's Creed that you know. We're going in a new direction. This is all the new stuff that you can do in it. You've got the Eagle now. You've got all of the different revamped combat systems. You've got the Egyptian setting, and the Egyptian gods is a factor into it as well, and all this amazing RPG systems and side quests and everything like that. But they really did a big blowout of all of the new stuff. I keep coming back to, like, yeah, but why didn't you do that for Mirage? I know it's probably coming, but
yeah,
I still feel like this was the moment, because this is your anniversary, and they did such an amazing thing. If you remember the trailer that they did for the Community, 15 years of Community that are hyped, all the stuff, they showed all the cosplay stuff, they showed all the events and the comics and the fan art and everything. It's like, guys, this was your spotlight to really do it, and they just didn't. But hopefully it'll come soon, very soon.
Yeah, hopefully.
Fingers crossed. I do know that obviously the feudal Japan setting is something that fans have been crying out for It feels like they've been asking for it for longer than the game franchise has been around. So I know that me and my pals have just screamed for Japan for ages. So the fact that that's actually happening.
As soon as the first one happened, they're like, okay, now give us Japan. And they never did. They went off in every other direction, every other civilization. And
you look at the way the Assassins fight, and you look at the, especially as you're coming into the Auditory trilogy and that sort of thing, you've got the fluidity of movement and you can scoop up their swords and you drive it into someone behind you and then you bring it. It's all this way of the sword, all that stuff that we used to do with a stick when we were, kids. It's awesome. And it screams samurai, and then all of the hiding in the shadows, all this sort of stuff screams ninja, or at least what everyone perceives as the way samurai and ninja were, and the way it's been presented to us through film and game for so many years. So it's a perfect setting. So I'm very excited about the fact we've finally got feudal Japan. I'm intrigued by the fact that we've got the witch trials and the spooky, because that's going to be interesting.
Right? Yeah.
One more setting that I have wanted for so long, since playing Syndicate or Unity, one of the two. The flashback scenes where you're climbing the Eiffel Tower during World War II. I would like to see a modern history Assassins about what they're up to today, or not today, but like 60, 70 years ago, set during one of the world events. I think that's the next one that I would like to see come around, but I can't really complain because we're getting creepy assassins, Japanese assassins, so I'm set.
Well, you never know. They could go full meta with a future setting where like the COVID pandemic outbreak was part of like the Templars operation and conspiracy to control the world or something. Like propaganda and messaging and state controlled of the people and all this kind of stuff. There's potential to just really mess with it.
Yeah, we'll end up with Dan Brown's Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, exactly.
Not sure how I feel about that.
A little bit too close to home, too truthful. It's like,
too real.
This makes me uncomfortable. Maybe not. But yeah, you're right. Like the codename Red, when they finally announced that, I was actually shocked at how much they announced that is still so far away. I love that they did, but because they're saying, we don't have one game for you. We've got like 3 or 4 games that we're all working on that are coming in fairly, I guess, steady succession. But I would imagine codename Red, whatever it transpires to be, will be at least 2024. Maybe it could even be pushed to 2025. I don't know. And who the heck knows when Hexy is coming as well. And then ultimately the platform of Infinity, whatever that kind of hub platform transpires to be, that's obviously like at least 5 years away or something. That's what it kind of sounded like. I think it's really funny that all of a sudden we're getting loads of samurai type of feudal Japan type of games. And we're going to be talking about the other ones that were just announced on next week's show, such as Yakuza Ishin, which I know everybody's excited for. I'm hugely excited for. We got the Team Ninja one, Rise of the Ronin, which I'm so excited for. We're going to get into that. That'll be for next week's deep dive. But it seems like, okay, Ghost of Tsushima has obviously struck a chord and shown that, okay, now we better start doing some like feudal Japan games, because now there's like a whole influx of feudal Japan set games, which is amazing. I'm very, very happy about that. But at the same time, I'm thinking, yeah, but Ubisoft could have led the charge on a feudal Japan, and now Ghost of Tsushima has shown that the audience is there for it, and how popular and how deftly it can be done, really, really well done. It's like, okay, now we're going to be doing it. And I'm sure it's probably in the back burner for such a long time at Ubisoft to say, I know the audience really wants this, but we want to be doing this other stuff first. And now it seems like, oh shit, Ghost of Tsushima's got so many accolades and stuff like that. It's like, we better get on a feudal Japan setting. Yeah. I mean, even Sekiro is a shinobi game, open-ish kind of world game, I suppose. And, and now we're getting so many more. It's fantastic. My only, a slight negative I would say about that is I would actually prefer, rather than Ubisoft doing feudal Japan, this is going to sound maybe a little bit controversial for the fans, but I would actually prefer a historical China setting as a mainline game. I know the mobile game is going to be that as codename Jade, and they did the spin-off 2D side scroller, which was Chinese setting, but I want a mainline, like mystical Chinese setting would be incredible. And we've got some of those games coming. There was that game that was shown off just recently, which looks like absolutely incredible. I can't remember the name of the developer now, but it looked fantastic, where he was like running across the water and he jumped up into the ship and blew up the ship, and it was very Assassin's Creed like, but it was ancient China. And it looked so good. So obviously we're getting that, but just for the different developer. But then it's like you're sidelining China to do Japan, and Japan is now getting done to death, and there's so little done with Chinese mythology. It's like there's potential there to do something incredible that is going to maybe stand out and be unique, where now we're going to have like 4 or 5 games all set in feudal Japan. It's like, have you missed your chance? I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I think, well, absolutely they should do China instead. I think there's no reason why. Well, yeah, it's kind of like what I was saying about the fact that the Valhalla exists, right? It's like they went, oh, Vikings are hot right now. Let's do that. Rather than just jumping on that bandwagon, why not look elsewhere? Why not? Even like Indian mythology is really cool as well. Like that's what I loved about getting a little bit of that in Uncharted. And I was like, you know what? That's something that we don't tap into enough. Why do we have to say, oh, everybody else is doing Japan, let's do Japan? Yeah, absolutely. We should look at other really fun and exciting cultures. Why not?
100%. Jamie?
I wonder if it is literally just a case of... I think it is. It's the Vikings are cool. Samurais are cool. They're mainstream. To a degree, there are a portion of history that has been made mainstream, represented in a particular way through film, TV, video games, books, and then people automatically know about it. Like they're part of the zeitgeist almost. Whereas I think with Chinese mythology is amazing, and like some of the, like you say, some of the mysticism in there would be incredible and would make for a fantastic setting, but is maybe less mainstream people automatically aware of it, and it might be what makes them shy away from it. Same with, I mean, there is some fantastic Celtic mythology, which like some really interesting. I mean, I'm steeped in it here. Like, you know, we've got a mermaid in the loch apparently, so I've never seen her, but she's supposed to be floating around out there somewhere. So, and again, but it's not visited as much through video games and stuff. So, you know, it depends. You get certain games that use stuff, and you get certain developers who use stuff, but it's not quite as prevalent throughout.
Yeah, do you think they're worried about whether or not it will sell, essentially? Like it's a case of, people are probably more interested or can identify or at least have another exposure to Japanese culture to be able to go, oh yeah, I'd love to play a samurai. Like that, obviously that makes sense. Because there's also an amazing, like, to talk more about other cool like cultures. The Maori have an amazing mythical, like pantheon, and that's super niche. But I would love a game that was based on that. And I know there are a couple of small dev companies that are making things, and I'm like, yeah, I'm keeping an eye on that because I'm going to play the living heck out of it. But it is a case of that's super niche, and probably only people from New Zealand or people who love New Zealand or people who live in New Zealand, and maybe a small circle of people outside of that would probably play something like that, which is a shame because it would be nice if people were keen and open-minded to want to use something like a video game in order to explore and to learn stuff like that. I think that would be such a cool thing to promote, especially because, you know, I don't necessarily want to sit in a classroom and learn about stuff these days. I'd much rather play a video game and learn about stuff. That would be really cool.
I think
that's what's amazing about the 3 recent Assassin's Creed games is that they have the, what is it called? Is it like historical like visitor mode or something like that, where you can literally just, I think you can turn off all combat or something and literally just go for a tour and walk around the pyramids and then get told information about the actual facts and history and commentary. But I don't know if it's narrated or what, or if it's just text based. But I need to check it out. But they've done that for Odyssey for obviously for Greek mythology and Greek history. Egyptian history, and now the recent one with Valhalla has the same mode. You can it's such a rich, like, structure and framework that they've now created to tap into any history, any civilization in history, whether it's like the Aztecs and the Incas. Tell me about that, and then I get to play as an Aztec warrior, and that kind of moment in history. And then you can do the visitor mode or explorer mode or something, and then get told all of these facts and information about, okay, this structure here was actually this kind of explanation, and you're learning from it. Again, as you say, Sarah, like I heard about this the other day. It was the gamification of education, and it was such a really cool discussion that I was listening to, and it was about different ways of learning that are not in a classroom setting or on a getting talked at or something like that, and having to stay awake and you're falling asleep at lectures. I mean, not every university or classroom has Indiana Jones giving the lectures about antiquities and things like that. Sadly, that is not the case. But be able to do it through an interactive medium is so powerful. And I think that the more that Ubisoft are it feels like they're like leading the way, mostly, certainly on such a high profile project as Assassin's Creed, that they're really being like history teachers, which is fantastic. Like, really cool.
Yeah, super cool. And I think that companies that are that large and have so much of have such a strong background in the way that their games have been developed and already educating people should be using that as a way to go, actually, let's not go for Japan, because probably a lot of people know a lot about it anyway. Let's go for something that's less well known and actually bring it into the spotlight. And I think that would be a really nice way of using, well, their super massive amount of money and followers.
I think
100%.
You're looking at it's the department of We Like Money that exists within every company. Like, there is every major company or organization has a department which is just like three guys. I usually, they're vultures in suits, and all they care about is the money. And and eventually some decisions reach them for final veto. And I think that's it. I think it's a short-sightedness of being like, well, we know people like ninjas and stuff. We're not sure how they'd go with Chinese mythology. We don't want to risk the fact that they might not buy it. They think of gamers as incredibly fickle, and we are in some ways. It has to be said, but we're fickle in as much as you might have someone who really has no background with Chinese mythology, no particular interest in it necessarily right now. They for want of a better phrase, don't care, just through not having any exposure to it or having gone and looked into it themselves or anything like that. And if you show them a game that looks badass, that features it, they'll buy it because the game's badass, and then they'll be interested in. They seem to look at it from the other perspective, that they're going to look at the setting, and if it's not a setting they like, it'll turn them off of the game. And I don't think that's how it works. Not for the majority of gamers, but it seems to be the feeling that they have.
Especially once you're in it and you start interacting with these NPC characters, which are kind of historical takes on the real people, you're thinking, oh, tell me more about this person, and they go off and research it, which is really quite interesting. Just to throw a curveball in, because this is such a great kind of conversation we're having about this. Do you ever think Assassin's Creed will get to the point where we could have like a multiverse sort of thing where, whether it's multiverse or, I kind of liken it to the Batman Elsewhere kind of stuff, where you're taking the established kind of characters and things that you think you know about Batman, and then you're switching it up into something totally different. We actually saw it recently with Marvel's kind of movies. They had an Elsewhere series that was taking Doctor Strange, and it was zombie Doctor Strange, or Captain America wasn't Captain America. It was Captain Britain, and it was Peggy that was the super soldier at that point. That kind of stuff. Sarah, so Jamie and I actually kind of talked about this, about Batman on one of the shows ages ago, and I always wanted a Batman Elsewhere where it was Peter Pan. So Batman was Peter Pan, and Joker was Captain Hook, and the Lost Boys were Jason Todd, Nightwing, and Robin, and Red Hood. They were the Lost Boys. I thought that would be such a cool narrative for an Elsewhere Batman. And that's what got me thinking about, could Assassin's Creed get to such a point where we start doing like Elsewhere stuff, but it's all the different assassins as different, like weird historical figures, or just blow the doors off creativity. What could be done?
I mean, ultimately, the sky's the limit with when you get into that sort of category, right? You can sort of say, oh, there could be any person in history, and how that then affects, whatever the follow-on effect of that is. But isn't it? I mean, again, because I've not played any of the franchise, but isn't it kind of almost multiverse theory anyway? Because you sort of go into, well, it's like it's to do with DNA, right? It's like if you're the descendant of this particular person, then you go into that world. But I guess if you could actually affect things and change things, and then it was canon somehow, I think that'd be really interesting. I don't know too much about how they already are, but yeah. I'm already, having watched the trailer, I'm already like, take my money, and I'll go and buy all the old games. Totally, yeah. That's my jam.
I can see Jamie's brain ticking over with the mention of multiverse stuff. So,
it's what we call, in wrestling fan terms, I'm dream booking, but it's. So apparently I'm losing my voice today, so that's great timing. Record a podcast, have some lurgy. No, I'm just thinking, obviously, someone goes and straps themselves into the Animus and it analyzes their ancestry and then sends them back into a time when, you could have been this guy. Mm-hmm. It'd be interesting if they used the old trope of the unreliable narrator. Right? So they could do an Assassin's Creed game where it's like, hey, we've got a janky Animus, basically. We've got this, come, right, you've bought your Animus on Wish, strap yourself in, and then it's like, it's sending you back, but it's you could end up anywhere, so it screws with the... Because I'm just thinking, I would like to see... Like, we know that Arthurian legend is just that, legend, so there's not a lot of history there to jump back into, but what if there was? What if what if the Animus is picking up on things you think are history? You end up as Lancelot in the court of King Arthur, but an assassin. But oh shit, this guy's here, and there's a lot they could play around with. So we
just have invented a quantum leap video game here, Jamie.
Oh my god!
Quick, isn't it? Copyright.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
We said it first.
We did. Maybe next time will be the leap home for Sam Beckett.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
I love Quantum Leap so much.
And we're going to cast Sarah as Al the hologram, but a different
yes.
Love everything about that. Yes, please.
Oh, I want to go watch Quantum Leap now.
That must be on Netflix or something by now, surely, because the new series is coming out, so they've got to surface it, surely. Come on.
I think, and don't hold me to this, I know you can buy the series on Amazon, but I think it might be one of the ones that's on Amazon Prime, not sponsored, Amazon Prime Freebie, one of the channels that you can have to...
Oh, okay.
Possibly.
Right.
So it's not Prime, but it's one of those ones that you can, like TNT or TMT or something like Turner Classic. Turner Classic Music, TCM. Like you can access the channels within Prime and subscribe to it kind of individually. I hate those, but never mind. I'd rather just on Prime and I can...
Well, Freebie is a free edition, but you have to watch it with ads. Like the old days of watching stuff.
Oh,
like
the old days.
The old days. Jamie, tell the kids what the old days are, because they don't know about ads.
It was wonderful. Everything was beige, and it was... I mean, all of this was fields. So, but the whole village would gather around a 6-inch television, and we'd throw another one of the sickly kids on the fire to keep it going so that we could stay warm. And then we would all watch about 10 minutes of a really good show before some wanker would pop up and try and sell us utterly buttily. So, yeah, that was how we used to watch television. My sweet summer children. Hate adverts. I hate and love adverts.
And you used to look for your holiday deals on teletext.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Them were the days.
Or just play on teletext. Just click through it and look at stuff that you don't really care about, but it's teletext and it's fun, so do it.
That's right. That's right. And when it got to like 12 o'clock at night, the signal just stopped, and then you just had a pattern and nothing else. Nothing was broadcasting because they stopped. They actually stopped broadcasting. What?
Yeah. It blows the mind now to think there was a time where there was the TV would just be like, and shift done, punk. And I'm usually sat there at 4 o'clock in the morning watching some crap. And I can't imagine being sat there looking at the screen going, no one's awake to press the button so I can see the thing. What is the...
Yeah. I've now got an idea for a narrative adventure where you go back in time and it's just mundane tech of this kind of stuff.
Oh, that could be fun.
It could be a dial-up modem. How does this work? You know, the person doesn't understand old technology and they have to solve a crime or something.
On Game Pass right now, there is a game called Last Call BBS, and you are using an old machine. And when you use it, like you'll go and you want to play a game, so you think, "Oh, I'll try this. I'll try this little game they've got." And then you hear the dial-up sound, and then it actually takes quite a while for the game to be ready, even though it's part of it. It's in there. You could give me access to this right now, but no, they make you wait. And that's one of those moments when you're playing it, and you think, "Wow, this is amazing, nostalgia," and then you sort of think, "Oh, it's not all it's cracked up to be the past, is it?" Yeah. But
oh my goodness. We've just got so many ideas for games, guys. We could just form our own team, our own company. Let's do it.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
Finally get my Lego games game.
So the next topic we'll talk about is the Disney and Marvel Games Showcase. Did you guys get a chance to watch this, and what did you think about it? Sarah?
I did watch it. It looks super exciting. I mean, I basically put a list of everything that I was like, this looks great, and it's just a very long list. Mostly I'm excited about, there was like a little tiny bit of Spider-Man 2 at the very end, a little bit of Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which I'm super excited for because I loved Fallen Order. Well, I actually haven't finished it yet, but I love it. And Monkey Island, obviously. Love Monkey Island. I was like a big point and click fan back in the day, played loads of the LucasArts. Loved Day of the Tentacle, Sam and Max. There was an Indiana Jones one where you try and find Atlantis, which was really cool. But yeah, I loved Monkey Island too. What else looked good? The couch, the 4-player couch co-op, Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and Goofy. That Illusion Island.
Illusion Island, yeah.
That looks so cute. I'm so on board with that. Disney has always been a huge part of my childhood growing up, and then and nowadays being a gamer, I think was there also like a little bit of Kingdom Hearts. I'm getting sidetracked. I'm like, oh my god, there were so many cool things in that. More Lego Star Wars stuff. Disney Speedstorm, interesting, like something kind of Crash Team Racing / Mario Kart. And the Disney Mirrorverse where you play as villains. Oh, come on. Who doesn't want to be a villain?
There's a lot of such rich IP that they're just kind of like putting out into video game format. Very, very mobile heavy as a show, which is fine, I guess. It's not really kind of for me, but that market is just astronomically rich for like profit and revenue. But like the one I was really quite interested in, it's the kind of thing that I will get absorbed in for about a month, and then I won't play it. It was the Animal Crossing equivalent of Disney's version of Animal Crossing, was Dreamlight Valley, I think it was called. And that just it looks so cool. It is like the perfect, take Animal Crossing and then just have it within the Disney universe, and you can interact with like Buzz Lightyear or Woody or Ursula from Little Mermaid or Scar and all of the characters. Like little Wally was bombing around there. I was thinking, well, they're just printing money with this kind of stuff. It just looked fantastic. It's like I don't know if it's like a Pokemon kind of thing or if it's more Animal Crossing. I haven't had a chance to try it, but I just saw it and I thought, holy crap, kids are going to go wild for this. All of the Disney characters that they get to chat to and hang out with and create this
kids are gonna go wild for it. Not me.
The big kids.
So I think that one you're talking about is definitely more Animal Crossing, but they do have they did announce something that was like Pokemon Go, the Marvel World of Heroes, which looks like it's made by the same guys who did Pokemon Go, I believe. Don't know what it's going to be exactly. It was only like a kind of like a little sort of 10
Little
second
thing at
clip
the end,
about
right?
it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I was like, that looks interesting. And they were just like kids in the park who, formed a circle, a la Wong, a la Doctor Strange. And I was like, that's fun. I want to play that.
Jamie, what did you think?
Yeah, I didn't catch the actual showcase. I just read all the stuff afterwards. I take in the written word better sometimes. So, and yeah, Dreamlight Valley looks amazing. I'm downloading it today, and then cancel the podcast because that's my life from that point forward. I mean, I got Stardew Valley. I still play Stardew Valley, and it robbed me of thousands of hours of my life. And I love those kind of games. We game called Farm Together I've been playing recently, which is just adorable, and that's got the same sort of vibe to it. So that with Disney, I'm sold. So that's going to get played a lot. I was interested in the kart race. I don't know how Disney have not done, at least not to my memory, have not done a kart racer before, because they have no character ever in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, Disney owns everything. I'm pretty sure somewhere on my neck there's a brand with just little mouse ears. So it's a perfect mix. Obviously, all the Marvel and stuff.
You know they're going to be bringing all of the Marvel characters into the kart racer as DLC packs, and then you got the Star Wars characters coming in as well as DLC packs probably, and that's Mario Kart, but Disney, and that could be huge, absolutely huge.
Yeah,
it does beg the question: why isn't there a Disney Smash Brothers?
Have you played Multiverse?
There's that.
It's not
that DC one, right?
That's the new Warner Brothers one.
Multiverses, which is by all accounts pretty good.
It's very fun. I mean, it is just Smash Bros, but with Warner Brothers characters. But I mean, I was playing as Gizmo, fighting like Arya Stark, and I was like, this is great. Like, I've always wanted to punch Arya Stark in the face with my little furry hands.
The face-off we've always wanted to have is Gizmo against Arya Stark. Yeah, love it.
It's so cool, though. I think what's clever, what's slightly different about it, and I don't know if, I mean, it probably will change and there'll be different levels of accessibility later, but you play with a friend, so you both log in together as a pairing, and then you get matched with two other people, and then you fight as like a 2v2. So at the moment, it's not, as far as I'm aware, it's not 1v3 or different sets of teams. So it was 2v2 at the moment, which is super fun because you just jump on with a friend and go and smash the crap out of strangers across the world, which is really fun.
Just to confirm, Gizmo the Mogwai.
Yeah,
he's in Multiverses.
He's in Multiverses. I had to buy him, as in I had to earn enough coins in order to buy him. But I was like, as soon as I saw he was there, I was like, I want him so bad.
I have one question. I have one question about Gizmo, Sarah. Is there a way to Super Saiyan Gizmo and then he turns into a gremlin?
Not yet, but I think
so
there are going to be like other characters coming later.
Stripe.
Yeah, and oh god, I can't remember. I just kept seeing previews of them, and actually, if you like, just the opening sort of splash screen when you log in has him on there, and I was like,
wow.
Yeah.
See, now I want the next Mortal Kombat game to have Gremlins characters, and Fatality would be shoving one in a blender or something like that. Or a microwave.
Or a microwave.
There's a microwave out.
Yes.
That's the happen. Oh my god. I showed my wife Gremlins maybe a couple of years ago because she'd never seen it, and I told her it was a Christmas movie, which is fair. It is a Christmas movie,
it is.
Right? Steven Spielberg, as a Robert Zemeckis as well, like the two figureheads for feel good family, movies. So I said, yeah, honey, you're gonna really love this. It's set at Christmas. There's these gorgeous little furry creatures. It's going to be a good time. So we watched it, and she's like, "You fucking bastard! You told me this was a Christmas movie. This is horrible. This is so violent." And I had actually forgotten because I'd only ever seen it on TV, and it was obviously heavily censored way back on broadcast television when we were a kid, Jimmy. And I had forgotten so many gruesome deaths from the people at the hands of the Gremlins. Like the old lady on the stairlift gets hijacked and she gets catapulted like she's been shot out of a cannon from the house because the Gremlins had had rewired her Stana stairlift. And of course, there's a blender death, there's a microwave, and there's electrocutions, and it's like, oh shit.
Such a
I
good
forgot
film.
all about this.
It was brilliant.
I love them both. I love the sequels, right? And I love Brain Gremlin in the second one. And I will never forget the scene, and it is burnt into my memory from like the first time I ever watched it, which is what we want, what I believe everyone wants, is civilization. Well, take this fellow. Boom! That was not civilized. And I was crying laughing the first time I watched that, and it still kills me every time I watch it. I love it.
What a time to be a gamer when you can get Mogwais and Gremlins in a multiverses.
Oh, yeah,
Because you got
games.
Scooby Doo and like the Mystery Gang and everything like that,
Mhm.
right? And all DC properties. It's like Disney got to get on this. This is like another license to print money. Is their equivalent of Smash Bros.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so good, so good. Anyway, let's move on to the one Sarah's been waiting for. My impression / kind of review, but more just impressions because I haven't finished the game. It is the Fashion Souls newcomer of Steel Rising from Spider Studios. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Spiders, they did titles such as The Technomancer, Greedfall, and now Steel Rising. And Greedfall 2 is in progress as well. And I had seen trailers of this cut in the run up to it, and then I was getting super excited by the look of it because it's set in kind of during like the kind of French Revolution in Paris, that kind of time period. But it's obviously an alternate kind of take on that moment in history, and the king is kind of gone like become like a mass murderer kind of thing, and he's ordered this robot army to basically quell all dissension of the people, and ultimately the humans French army, the soldiers, have been wiped out by his clockwork army, and it's all these automatons that you're fighting against, and just like the visual look of it is just so cool, and it's such a big step up for Spiders, because they'd done really great work with Greedfall. And if you're unfamiliar with Greedfall, that felt like a Dragon Age, but a kind of more kind of modern one from a very small team. It felt like old school jank and all Dragon Age kind of one, but it was just really great. It was filling a void where BioWare, being BioWare right now, they're kind of, they haven't had many bangers, and people were just really desperate for that old school style of RPG. And Greedfall really fell into that and hit that kind of niche. And it was a bit janky for sure. The camera's a bit wonky and a little bit buggy here and there, but it was still a great time. And now Steel Rising is their most polished title yet, their most accomplished title yet, and that makes me hugely happy for the studio. It's still quite buggy. It's still quirky and a little bit kind of janky here and there, but because it's such a small team, like their ambition. Spider Studios are a developer who clearly have so much passion and ambition, and it's really only the kind of like the tech side that maybe kind of falters a little bit. But again, this is their most complete. There's nothing egregiously buggy or anything like that. Just weird stuff like if I'm locked onto an enemy, the energy bar wouldn't pop up. So I had to pause the game and unpause the game, and then it would appear. But it wouldn't always happen. So I had no idea what kind of damage I'm doing against certain enemies. But it was minor stuff like that. This is a little bit unfortunate, but that kind of stuff can get patched out. But nothing is really stopping my enjoyment of the game. And I've been playing it non-stop pretty much since it launched, because the setting, you are this automaton who serves the queen who's going to go up against the king, essentially her husband, to build an uprising kind of thing, like a rebel alliance sort of thing of the French aristocracy to try and stop the king and all the people who have sided with the king. And that whole premise is just like super rich and interesting. And the look of the automaton that you control as is just stunning. I've sent Sarah and Jamie some pictures of it. It's like this is just the most amazing fashion shows, because it's French aristocracy, that historical kind of dressage of costumes and everything, and there's so much of it as well that you're always going to look amazingly fashionable. And so that right there is going to appeal to a whole audience that just wants to look good and kick ass. But then you've got such weapon variety, and all the weapons are exquisitely designed. I'm sporting these oversized Wolverine claws right now, and they're called the Nemesis claws, and they're really good at breaking posture and then stunning the enemies, and you get critical attacks in. So I'm kind of like a dexterity build at the moment. If for those that want to get into the kind of the language of Dark Souls and Bloodborne, I'm very much a dex build right now. But you can get like power builds, you can get alchemical builds where you can control elements like lightning, ice, and fire. And you've got like loads of like grenade types, and you've got ranged weapons, you've got the melee weapons. It's such a huge variety of what you can do. So I'm planning on doing a second playthrough, maybe like a power build or strength build or something with a little bit of elemental damage as well. And I'm just hooked on this game because I want to see it through, because the story is so interesting. The setting just feels kind of really kind of unique, because it's not a setting that we haven't really tapped into before. Again, the only time I can really think of a really good depiction of historical France would be probably Assassin's Creed Unity. And it's really cool to have this like alternate reality version of Paris. And the level design, at first, it seems to take a really long time to maybe get going. It feels really linear for quite a while, but then it kind of opens up and you start getting that interconnectivity of environments, and all of the different NPC side quests just start to blow out, and you start getting loads of stuff to do, and you're zipping all over the place and unlocking different pathways. And then as you begin to level up and progress the story, you start to unlock new abilities like a grapple hook, and I've got like an air dash now. I can do like a fireball kick, which is kind of cool. And like the grapple hook is the way that they've thought about it, the design of the character. Like the grapple hook comes out of my boot, so I'm doing like this kind of Bayonetta style fly kick, but it's a grapple hook coming out of my shoe.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
You know, there, because you can see the mechanics and the clockwork mechanisms on the character. So whenever she does this kind of air dash, they're like things are like clicking and rotating, like the cogs in her cuirass and on her spine and everything like that. There's different modules that you can do. So on the vertebrae of the character's spine, there's these kind of 4 circular slots where you can tailor different modules which give you different buffs and debuffs and things like that. So like there's tons of stuff there. The only thing that maybe kind of people are overlooking is because it's such a small team, it feels a little bit rough, a little bit janky. But if you stick with it, there's so much good stuff here, and it's definitely a worthy Soulsborne entry into that kind of subgenre. And the only thing I would say is my character seemed to get quite OP very quickly. So I would say it's probably the easiest of Soulsborns I've maybe ever played, to the point where the bosses are kind of trivial, and they're not like I'm not one-shotting, but I'm not dying to any of the bosses now. Like the first couple, I got killed a couple of times, but then it's like, oh, okay, now I know how to dodge and counter and use my grenades, which are so OP. I don't know if they'll get patched or not, or if they're just going to leave it as it is, but you can literally just go into a boss fight with like 50 grenades and just throw grenades at it and you'll kill the boss. So it really becomes quite trivial once you work that out. But the design of everything is fantastic. It's just that once you go into a boss fight, you think, this does not have the grandeur and the terrifyingness of like a Dark Souls or a Bloodborne, and you have to work out how they're going to move. There are different phases of the fight, and they become quite trivial encounters, which is a real shame, because visually it's just very, very interesting and very cool. But that's probably the only negative thing. The actual going through the environments, unlocking the different shortcuts, and working out the story is really interesting, and that's what's kind of gripping me at the moment. And the gameplay is really fun, because I'm now zipping different grapple points through the streets of Paris. I can air dash to explore different parts of the environment which were closed off to me before, like classic stuff that you expect in a Soulsborne, going back and then uncovering new different avenues and secrets and stuff like that. I just wish there was a bit more grandeur and kind of epic terrifyingness to the bosses. It feels a little bit safe in terms of the boss designs at times, where you think like a lot of them are like these bipedal robots. Very few of them kind of blow out your idea of convention of what could be done with the like automatons. Like there's nothing that's like the size of a skyscraper, like an Elden Ring or something like that. But again, manage expectations. This is a very small team from
Yeah.
Spiders compared to FromSoft or compared to Sony Santa Monica with their God of War stuff. And it's not on that level, but as like a double A, if we use the phrase double A, it's so solid and it's a lot of fun. So that's my impressions of Steel Rising right now. I can't wait to finish it.
Sounds awesome. It does sound, I mean, I appreciate what you're saying about boss fights seeming like not as grand as you want them to. And I think that's kind of like, for me anyway, in terms of games like Bloodborne and Dark Souls, those are my favorite moments, are the big boss fights. So
Yeah.
I'm a little worried to hear that they're not grandiose, but also like you say, you can't sort of, it seems unfair to compare it to something from FromSoft. It looks absolutely beautiful from the pictures you've been sending. Like every time you send a picture, I'm like, I can't wait to get it. And I've held off getting it because I saw how much it was on PlayStation and just went, I don't have that money right now. But I might get it on Steam because I think it's a little bit cheaper if I go PC. So might do that.
There's some more kind of settings that you can tweak on the PC as well. Like there's a field of view kind of slider on PC. There's different kind of camera effects you can manipulate on PC, whereas on the Xbox Series X I was playing it on, it doesn't have any, like the settings that you can tweak with the display settings are very kind of locked down, whereas on PC there's definitely way more kind of finessing that you can do. It's like if you want a slightly expanded kind of viewpoint, you can obviously get that. You can far more control over the experience. And so I'd probably recommend the PC version over that, just because those weird bugs that I'm getting with energy bars. At first I was like, okay, there's a workaround here that was kind of working, but now it's kind of like really becoming quite intrusive. It's like, oh God, like I've got the diamond, a little walk-on diamond symbol over the character is appearing, but then the energy bar is not appearing. So if I pause and unpause, sometimes it will pop up, sometimes it won't, but the energy bar of somebody I'm not locked onto appears. It's breaking the experience. It's like it could do with a few patches. And I think once it becomes in a sale, or if it's I think it is cheaper on PC anyway by default, but it will come down. It's an easy recommendation if you like Soulsborns. And one thing I meant to mention is like if you're like really afraid of Soulsborns for like their difficulty or even perceived difficulty, there's an extra mode called Assist Mode. And this I think is fantastic that more games need to have. Yeah. So you can really tailor the experience at a granular level to say, okay, my stamina bar has, again, it's a system that Gears of War implemented and not enough developers have done this. It's the active reload kind of thing of your gun in Gears of War, where you'd get the little, like the meter bar. And if you hit it in just the sweet spot, you'll get like a buff. So in Steel Series, once you fully deplete your stamina bar, Aegis, who's the character, essentially she overheats. So all of the steam starts dissipating out of her back, and it's glowing red. Like the engine kind of motor is spinning, it's glowing red, it's sparking. So you're getting that really cool visual feedback that I'm overheating, and it's like, oh shit, I'm totally vulnerable. And if you press the Y button, or it'd be triangle on PlayStation, at just the right time, you'll get an instant stamina refill. So it's like a little mini game to juggle your stamina, but you have to do it in the middle of combat, obviously. So you're kind of working that out. So the assist mode for that is it's like easy stamina, or I think it's phrased as. So you're taking out the mini game aspect, so you don't have to worry about that. But then there's another level of that stamina where you can increase how fast your stamina recharges to, I think it's like up to 300%. So your stamina will like refill super fast, so you're almost like never out of stamina, so you can just be zipping around all over the place. So there's that level, but then there's also the ability to never lose your souls, or it's called anima in this game, like upon death. So there's that option. If you find that really frustrating, then you'll never lose them when you die. But there's also the ability to say enemy damage when they attack you, I can reduce that to, it actually says 100%. I don't really know what that means. Is that like a god mode, or if they're going to do no damage to you? But it's a sliding scale from 0 to I think 100. So you can say, okay, they're hitting just a bit too hard. I'm not familiar with the systems just yet or how this moves. I'm going to just reduce that to maybe 50%. And so they're going to be hitting me twice as much to get the same damage effect. And so you can really control that experience, which I think is fantastic. And
Mm.
it's really great that they've done that kind of granular tailoring of difficulty. I'm playing it without any assists on because I now get to call myself a proper established Soulsborne, having done Bloodborne and Dark Souls and things like that. But at first I was like, I don't know if I can get the hang of the movement, because it feels, and this is interesting, but it's more kind of aesthetic than technical limitation. You think it's super janky with the movement, but that's actually just the robotic movement that they're mimicking. So it feels like really stilted and jerky, but you think, oh my God, this is so janky. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. But you soon very, very much get used to it. And that's the actual aesthetic and this style that they're going for, because I'm a robot. I'm not a person.
Mm-hmm.
I won't move as fluidly as a person. And once I got used to that, I started over again with no assists. And now I'm just really, really enjoying it. But then I've got to a point now where my claws are S-scaling with my dexterity and agility level. So I'm hitting like a truck, and I'm thinking, is this a power build I've created by mistake? And it's actually supposed to be a dex build. And very few enemies are becoming a problem. And I'm thinking, oh man, is it now just I've made my build just so OP, is trivializing every encounter. The boss fights aren't a problem at all. This kind of is, I was maybe my own doing, but
I was just going to say, it's probably because you've played too much other Soulsborne games that you're just like, I know exactly how to build this, and I'm going to mess with everyone, and I'm not here to play. I'm here to kill y'all. Y'all are getting killed.
I think it totally is. And but then I was thinking, like, have they made this too easy compared to others? But then I was thinking my current build on Dark Souls 3 is a strength build, and I'm one-shotting most enemies on my Dark Souls build. So it's not like it's any easier or any different. Like, you can make yourself OP in Dark Souls, and I'm rocking a giant great axe. So I just slam that thing down, and everybody is basically dead on one hit or maybe two hits. And the only thing that's a problem for me in my Dark Souls run at the moment are the final two bosses. They just annihilate me, whereas no other enemy is a problem. So I'm thinking, in Steel Rising, that's kind of the same. I've got to the point where I'm just decimating every single enemy. But the problem I'm finding is that the bosses I'm also decimating too easily. Whereas in Dark Souls, you're still getting really challenged by the bosses, and they can do huge amounts of damage on you and even one-shot you with a combo. Whereas Steel Rising is a little bit lacking on the boss front, I would say. But overall, super solid, really good fun. And once you start unlocking the other abilities, it's solid, like really, really solid little game.
It feels like maybe the sort of transition between when you're not fighting bosses versus fighting bosses is more, like it feels more even. Whereas I feel like with Bloodborne, Dark Souls, anything like that, it feels like when you're wandering around the world, maybe not for the first time, but like after you've been in that area for a while, you start to know that, oh yeah, I can go grind in this area. I can go kill 10 of these, go back to my lantern, go back to the fire, whatever, and then come back and kill them again. And I feel like it's kind of designed in such a way where maybe with this game, that's less of a thing. And I had an idea. Maybe they should offer a handicap option for people who have played Bloodborne and Dark Souls, so that it goes, oh well, you think you're shit hot, do you? Okay, cool. We're gonna make it harder for you then.
Yeah.
And so the reverse of the assist, like
like make them, rather than 200% damage reduction, make them hit twice as hard or something like that. Yeah, or make your stamina like really slow to regen or really difficult to get that buff, that active reload buff kind of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll do that in a future update. Who knows? If people give them enough feedback, say, you need to make this harder, guys. Make it harder.
So you think you're a badass mode? Click here. Okay.
I know. But what I like about it is what we're now kind of getting, like a lot of high quality Soulsborns coming out. A lot of games are kind of tapping into this kind of desire, and you know, the one that's been getting a lot of attention right now, and it's not out till I think next year, is Lies of P, which is very much the automaton kind of clockwork robots that you're fighting against as this kind of Pinocchio twisted tail depiction of that universe and Geppetto and everything. And I think Steel Rising is I'm thinking a lot of Lies of P when I'm playing Steel Rising, because it is the automaton kind of enemies and things like that. And what I'm seeing on Lies of P, it looks like they've got that sweet spot of you're fighting the kind of mechanical robots. You've got the customization of your kind of different mechanical joints and prosthetics and everything, but you've also got these really stunning boss fights that are just so well animated, and they're like screen filling at times, and they're really going to challenge you with their different combat patterns and things like that. And I think that's just where the difference in, I guess, like studio size, budget, maybe even expertise for this kind of stuff is maybe a little bit more prevalent, because Lies of P just looks stunning and so impressively animated, whereas Steel Rising is maybe just lacking that little extra level to step up another level. They're maybe not quite there yet, but I'm gushing about the game because I'm really, really enjoying it. I haven't been able to put it down, which is obviously a great sign. And very, very little wrong with it other than just those things, but it's not stopping me from wanting to finish the game and explore the story and see more of this kind of Paris setting. Yeah, great time.
See, I'm not a Soulsborne player. Largely because I played Dark Souls. I downloaded it, I sat there, I played the first one for, I don't know, 10 entire minutes, and died a couple of times. I was just cutting about as some lad with a sword and got kicked down some stairs. And this is a game that I had half the internet going, you will never have a better gaming experience than this. Play it. It will change your life. I'm walking around going, like, there's a skeleton over there. Seen it. Can't be fucked. Gone. It just didn't grab me at all. That's not to take away from the game. I'm sure if you like it, you like it. But it didn't pull me in. And I felt no particular urge to go back and try it again. And I usually get people tell me, it's like, yeah, well, if it's too difficult for you, it's like, no, motherfucker, please. I will. I do not have any issue with a game being difficult. Right? I throw myself, and the minute Halo launches, it's straight to Legendary. It's like, I am not playing it on anything less. It's not worth my time. Call of Duty, veteran every time. Gears, insane. But so first person, I throw myself at the hardest difficulty on a lot of games. I do have a problem with the mentality that seems to have built up around a subsect of this community now, where it's like, well, if you're not playing on the hardest difficulty, are you even a gamer? Are you even bothering?
Nonsense, isn't it?
Toss. Like, if you enjoy the hardest difficulty, that's great. I do. Like, on a lot of games, I like cranking it up and making it difficult for myself, because I get the satisfaction of going, I beat that. It was intense and I beat it, which is brilliant. But at the same time, I have played games where they're quite sort of pleasant, story-driven games that have aspects to it, and I've thought, well, I'm just going to knock it down a notch, just because I want to experience the story. And if I'm getting stressed out by every fight, I'm not taking it in. So I'm just going to go through it, play it, let's see what the story is, let's see this world they've built. This is fun, I'm enjoying this. And also some games, if you crank them to the hardest difficulty, they completely take away from their own tenet of giving you a character that you're supposed to feel like a badass. Because when you die 650 times to trackball, you don't feel like a badass. You feel like a one-armed, one-legged peasant trying to take on Colossus. And it's not... It just doesn't work. So, but all that aside, it looks gorgeous. And I love the automaton thing. And I've got a real thing about that. And I was quite excited about the time setting as well, because I think sort of French Revolution, Industrial Revolution era, like that sort of semi-modern history, or is quite there's quite a lot to be. Dishonored had that look and feel to it, and that sort of era type, aesthetically, and there's a lot to be done with it. And it was a time period of gorgeous dresses and masquerade balls and incredible brocade, and it looks really good. I'm actually more inclined to play it because it doesn't seem to have that huge difficulty curve. Yeah. So because now that's the other thing as well.
Is there for you if you want to just tap into that? It's like, you know what, I'm getting my ass kicked here. Just give me the easy cooldowns. Give me like practically infinite stamina, and you can do that, but have the same level of damage output or taking the same damage. You can control which one thing is maybe the hurdle for you, and then turn that on or off and tweak that, which I think is super powerful and really, really great for accessibility for people that are maybe not inclined to give me you don't want to get your nuts kicked in every single time. So
And it's hard to, like, if you're trying to break into a game or break into a game series and like really get into it, if you are just getting, bad beat on the same bit repeatedly, you're not necessarily going to build the connection with it. Like, I could see me, if I played a Soulsborne and got into it, yeah, I can absolutely see me then going, right, crank it up a notch, because I would get into the game and I would want to then experience what everyone's talking about with the, like you're going to feel great when you finally beat this thing after the 1,000th attempt. But yeah, I'm down for that, totally. But I'm going to need to actually like the game first before I'm going to bother to put that time in it.
Yeah,
so
totally.
I think the key word that you said, like right at the start of that, was enjoy. I'm like, surely that's what we're here for. Like,
yeah.
Obviously the challenge is great, and like in those moments where you finally succeeded at something, having tried it 1,000 times, yeah, it feels great. But like, enjoyment is the whole reason we do this in the first place, right? So if you're not enjoying it, that it's so nice to be able to have the option to make it more enjoyable, to make it manageable, and like you say, you can crank it back up again if you want. But yeah, enjoyability seems like the crux of it for me.
100%. So, final topic of the show is Crystal Dynamics officially owns Tomb Raider and Legacy of Kain. I did not see this one coming at all. I know Square Enix have been selling off all of their Western IP stuff in their studios and everything, but the fact that Crystal D is now the official owner for all future Tomb Raider games, and also as a bonus, the Legacy of Kain games, that is pretty massive news. And I just want to read the statement from Crystal Dynamics. It says, "We are excited to inform you that Crystal Dynamics has taken control of several game franchises, including Tomb Raider and Legacy of Kain, from the game's previous owner, Square Enix Limited. Crystal Dynamics announced, as a result of this change, Crystal Dynamics or its affiliate is now the owner of these games and the controller of the gameplay and personal data related to them. We look forward to taking this new and exciting journey with you." And also, in a separate statement, Eidos Montreal said that it is is now the owner of the games it developed, like Deus Ex and the Thief games. So that is pretty awesome. So Square Enix doesn't have anything to do with these IPs anymore. And Eidos Montreal, who did Human Revolution and Mankind Divided, and the Thief game, which was unfortunately very, very poorly received. I went back to play that recently as well, last year at some point, and that game is only held back by how hemmed in it is. The actual systems for Garrett, and the kind of Victorian bleak setting is actually really well devised, but there's so little in terms of mobility and exploration. It's just too linear and like boxed in. Had they done the Dishonored thing, which you mentioned earlier, Jamie, about the kind of time period setting, where you could clamber over more rooftops and you had more of a kind of open worldish kind of sandbox locations, that Thief game I think would have done way better. And if they get another chance to do another Thief game, I hope they double down on what they got right, like the different trick arrows and things like that Garrett can do, the blackjack, stealing and selling it to your fence. I'm thinking how good Thief Deadly Shadows was on the original PC and Xbox, and those OG Thief games. They were so good. And just go back to its roots as well and blow up the sandbox. That could be fantastic. And obviously, I want to really do see another Deus Ex game, because Mankind Divided had so much great stuff there. It just didn't do as well as Human Revolution, but they brought Deus Ex back to a modern audience, and it's fantastic. Obviously, Adam Jensen, and I never asked for this kind of body prosthetics, and what does it mean to be human versus robot, and all that kind of like that subtext of political statements, and just the themes that it was raising were fantastic. But obviously, Crystal Dynamics are getting full ownership of Tomb Raider is awesome. So, guys, take it away. Jamie, go first.
Tomb Raider, I love the Tomb Raider series, and the recent entries have been phenomenal. I've only dabbled in like Rise and Shadow. I need to go back and play them properly. I played Tomb Raider extensively, and it was fantastic. Little little heavy in parts, which I was not expecting. But just a brilliant game. It'll be interesting to see. I think with Tomb Raider, they can just continue doing what they've upgraded Lara for a modern age. Keep doing that. Chuck her in some open world, some open world rich mythological environments. Give her a bow. Build a decent story. That's it. Like they've got a license to print money with that. I think it's a great, and they've got goodwill to build off of because they've done a good job of. Those games have been, as far as I'm aware, very well received. I think the last one might have got a little bit of flack at some point compared to the first two, but generally speaking, it was the Legacy of Kain was the bit that took me by surprise somewhat because I was like, "Good God, you remember that you own it? Like, did they find it in a box?" Because I just haven't heard anything about Legacy of Kain for what feels like a millennia. Like, but they must have. It's almost like they turned around and was like, right, so you want to take control of Tomb Raider or make us an offer. It's like, okay, we'll give you this, but you've got to throw in Legacy of Kain. Yeah, sure, fuck it, take it. But I don't know. I'd love to see them do something with it. I wonder if it's just a case of, we've taken this IP along with a handful of others and it'll just sit and moulder. Because there's plenty of companies out there that have those franchises under their belt that they're not touching and probably don't have any intention of touching unless they decide that they're going to do a re-release on an anniversary and stuff. So I'm hoping that they might actually do something with it, but we shall see.
It seems interesting that they would mention it in their statement, and I don't know if that's like a legality thing, they have to mention it, but like if that's not the case, then perhaps there's a tactical side of having mentioned it, and maybe there is something in the works. I have a very limited experience with Tomb Raider, which is very sad considering female protagonist. I really do want to play more of those games, if purely because, like you say, if they've been modernized, that sounds good, because like the original ones were just like, look at this chick in her tiny little costume going out and shooting people and stuff. Look at her go, she's so sexy, and a little polygon like outfit. But hopefully it's, I presume, is less like that. We do have one of the new gen games, but I can't remember which one we have. I need to play that. But yeah, I don't know, is it a good thing that Crystal D, which sounds like something else, Crystal D now have ownership? Like, is that a good thing? What do you two think? Because it doesn't actually mean anything to me, unfortunately.
I think it is. I think they didn't do Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and tonally it was different and a little bit kind of off from what you knew as this new kind of Lara series to be from the original Tomb Raider and then Rise of the Tomb Raider, which are both fantastic games. So another team worked on that, Shadow, I should say, whilst Crystal Dynamics were off doing Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
Actually, no. Was it? Oh, no, sorry. I got it wrong. Eidos Montreal did Shadow, and Crystal Dynamics were off doing Avengers. Beg your pardon. Got it wrong there.
Right.
So the story and the tech in Avengers is fantastic. However, I'm a big proponent against this game because it was a live service game. They tried to make it multiplayer, and ultimately, I just do not like this game at all. I don't like its structure. I don't like its weird kind of loot boxy thing of, it's like a looter brawler, but it's just weird. It felt too much repetition of doing the same thing against robots all the time, and I just hated it. And like the upgrades, if I'm an Avenger, if I'm the Hulk, why do I need to upgrade my ribcage or my wrist gauntlets? Or it's just dumb. It's just stupid. It doesn't make any sense. So I largely hated the actual stuff around the story for Avengers. But like visually and the story, you play mostly as Kamala Khan, but then you get to take over the other Avengers like Captain America, Black Panther, and Black Widow, and Hulk, obviously, and Iron Man and Thor. That stuff is all great, but it's the stuff around it that makes up the actual structure of the different missions, and everything is just shit. And do not like it at all. And that's because I think Square Enix probably forced them to do a multiplayer game, which is like a looter shooter kind of style of game that can be a game as a service and it can run for ages. And then it did not do well at all, obviously, because the audience spoke and says, what is this game? It's just what? It's like it's fighting against the two parts of it. So that's not a knock on Crystal Dynamics at all, because when they are focused on really great story-driven adventure games, they are fantastic. And then Eidos Montreal doing Guardians of the Galaxy, that was one that, again, everybody saw the trailers for that and their opinion was, you're giving the Deus Ex guys a Marvel superhero game? Are you mad? What is this shit that we're about to get? Coming off the back of how badly received Avengers was. And then Guardians of the Galaxy drops and people are like, fucking hell, this is amazing, because it's not a multiplayer game, it's not a looter shooter, it's not a game as a service, it's just a single player adventure game, and you play as Star-Lord and you get to throw out commands to Gamora and to Drax and to Rocket and to Groot. This is fucking incredible. And it was amazing. So to circle it back long-windedly to your question, Sarah, I think this is a really good thing. If Square Enix just gets total control over what they want to do with Tomb Raider, and maybe down the line, if we get to see a resurgence of Soul Reaver and Legacy of Kain and Raziel and that kind of vampiric lore and stuff, could be a real throwback to those old school style of games. Remember, we talked about old school feeling games back on last week's podcast about how it can run really, really well, but it still gives that old school like platforming action game kind of feeling. I'm hugely excited for that. And I'm hugely excited for what Eidos Montreal can do with potentially a future Thief game or a future Deus Ex game. Jamie?
Yeah, I think Crystal Dynamics have solid previous, and I think because Rise, like I said, I've dabbled with Rise. I didn't get fully into it, just timing. Like it came along when I had other games on the go, and I just didn't have enough time to do it. But the first one they did, correct me if I'm wrong, Ross, but was it not? I think it was Rihanna Pratchett who wrote the story as well for the Tomb Raider games. I'm 90% sure that she was brought in to write because she does a lot of video game storylines and stuff like that. So obviously, daughter of my favorite author in the entire world and a fantastic author in her own right. And the story is brilliant. There were some slightly uncomfortable moments.
Okay.
Not to dig into it too heavily because it's a heavy subject, but there were some things that were said surrounding the release of it. They didn't necessarily, like a couple of spokespeople did not necessarily handle what they were trying to say particularly brilliant, but they wanted you to feel in danger because
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah. It's we won't go into it, I guess. Yeah, but I know what you mean. Yeah. It's like a woman being attacked by a man in power because she's tied up, and then he's a horrible, evil bastard, and wanting to have his way with her. Yeah,
and it was handled. I don't think it was handled brilliantly the way they talked about it when they were releasing it. But actually playing the game, I think the story's handled quite well. It's uncomfortable because it should be, but you fight back and you get stronger and you are an absolute. Lara is a badass, but she's a badass because she's forced to be. She's also not automatically imbued with, hey, don't worry, I can handle all of this, which can sometimes feel a bit false. Like it's resilience. It's a really, really good story, and it's got a really strong undertone. And like I said, Rihanna Pratchett, I'm sure it was her who wrote it, or she doctored it, or something. But anyway, it's a great story. It's a great tale. The gameplay mechanics are fantastic. The visuals are stunning. Like, it's a gorgeous looking game. So it's solid.
That particular scene is the precursor to her taking her first life. It's her motivation to be able to kill somebody and then get over that. So it's very kind of raw, very difficult scene, and
it's intense.
For the character of Lara, it was necessary because that would be what it takes for her to kill this person, and it makes sense narratively, and it's. Yeah, the media surrounding it, being what it is, unfortunately, took it out of context, and they're like, "Oh, this is an interactive thing. There, I'm going to have to do this to this character." No, you're not. You're not being the it's not a quick time event where you're doing these actions to Lara.
Yeah.
Lara's done to her as a narrative thread to then be able to kill this person and then defend herself lethally and then become the Lara that kind of we know today. And the only thing I'd probably say about that is it kind of happened too quickly. That whole scene was actually really well done, and she's like traumatized by having to kill this person, and once that happens, but then all of a sudden she's like killing everybody left, right, and center as if it's nothing. It's maybe a little bit too fast of a transition, but it's the game. That's the gamification kind of stuff coming in. It's like, on one kill, now she can kill 200 people as if it's nothing. So
yeah. I remember mentioning to a friend of mine when I was playing it at the time, because he came out of that and I said, wow, so that was good, that was a lot. And then within 5 minutes, I'm running through a jungle. It's like, there's guards! Thwip! Drop them all! Once you've taken one life, you don't need to worry about it anymore.
Like Pringles, man. It's like Pringles.
Yeah, it's just about numbers. It's just, fuck it. But, so yeah. No,
head popping ain't stopping.
Yep. Not endorsed by Pringles, but yeah. Once you pop one person's head.
Yeah. But brilliant games. And so, yeah, I think Crystal Dynamics will give it some love and hopefully pull back a bit, because as you said, Shadow was done by someone else. Was it Eidos did Shadow? You said,
I think it was Eidos Montreal did Shadow, before Guardians. And tonally it just felt a bit off, but it's still a beautiful game, and it's still a really, really strong game. And worth playing for sure. Yeah.
But I know that one had a little, I remember that having a wee bit of, not backlash, but just a little bit of pushback on like, well, this isn't pushing our buttons the way the first two did. But again, different team. It's going to, I mean, Christ, if Del Toro if Peter Jackson can step in halfway through The Hobbit and do half of a film after Del Toro's done it and people still like it, then there's hope for anything. So,
But yeah, all pointing toward a strong future for Assassin's Creed, Tomb Raider, and potentially Legacy of Kain. Who knows, right? Who knows? We've got all these amazing games to look forward to, and man, we need to get free codes for all of this stuff because we can't afford to buy them and then be able to talk about them. So, developers, sponsor us. Just give us your codes.
Just send them directly to me. I mean, to all of us.
Take anything. I'll play FIFA if it's free. Actually, no, I won't.
Oh, guys. So that brings us to the end of episode 77 of the Weekend Catch-Up Club podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. And you can follow us, like, and subscribe on all the platforms, whether it is Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music. We're pretty much everywhere. And of course, the video on-demand version is over on youtube.com/gamertagged. Any little feedback, comments, likes, interactivity, or engagement you can do with the show is a huge benefit to supporting the show. So drop a like, drop a comment, let us know what you think. And also, if there's any topics that you want to see us cover in the future, let us know as well, and we'll probably raise it. And questions and stuff like that, topics, observations, whatever. We're here to bring some entertainment to you. But until next week, guys, take care. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.